Right now on this special episode of Full Custom Garage, Master Metalman Ian Roussel goes back in time.
We're gonna go traditional on this, or at least as traditional as I can muster.
Created in 2005, this film captures the rebirth of custom culture and features a classic build by Ian Roussel.
My favorite thing is that you can take something that people will recognize and just warp it into something that they don't recognize.
Also featuring a creative cast of characters.
I can just keep learning. That's why I hang out with Ian, because he's just a maniac when it comes to this metal work.
Plus the Burbank Choppers Car Club and many more.
It's like a time machine in a lot of ways.
Full Custom Garage presents Back from the Dead.
If this was 1955, the kids back then couldn't afford a $10,000 paint job just like we can't now, you know? We just primer it and we want to drive it, man. We just want to go out there and burn up the streets and hang out with our friends and pick up some girls or whatever, you know? It's hot rodding.
It's absolutely an affliction, you know? It's like drugs. It's absolutely like drugs. It's probably sometimes more expensive than drugs.
I think it's outside the law. I think it's above the law. Just got respect.
We did it kind of as a punk rock thing, you know, the attitude against the norm.
All this stuff is hand-built by the owner, and that's what kind of makes these cars stand out. I mean, they don't look like the $150,000 car. They're not supposed to.
They're raw, they're weird, they're crazy, they're scary.
The thing that I like most about these cars are that you don't have all the parts together. They're all around, they're leftover pieces from other projects. It's super low budget. It's more of a treasure hunt than anything. You have to scavenge around and just make something that's badass. The next project I want to do is a Model A. I want to build a roadster pickup. Call it a rat rod. It's a whole new trend. It's hot right now. Everybody wants one. So my intent is to dip into my own private parts stash, source out a few other pieces around town. I know a bunch of hideouts. People have stashes of parts, and we're gonna build this thing. I want to bring it to Las Vegas to sell. There's a show coming up at the end of March, which is dedicated mostly to this kind of custom culture, this new era of car customizers and people who live this lifestyle. The most important thing for me was to lay down the line of the car, and I want it to be utterly low. I want it to be so low it was almost undrivable, because I think that looks the best. So I just stepped the chassis way up in the back. The rear end, a lot of people run a buggy spring. I didn't have one, so I took these coil springs and made the chassis to fit that. The most important thing for me was to take all the pieces and get a rolling chassis and make it ready for all the body and the aesthetic parts. I guess for me, fabricating is it's just sculpting. That's all it is. An artist sculpts in clay or wood or whatever. I sculpt in metal.
How would you describe the spider car?
I built that car for Viva last year. If I was a cartoon character, I'd be a supervillain, and that would be my car. I think some people might have a problem with it because it's not traditional. It's made of all old parts, but it doesn't fit the mold. It's not what a guy would drive in 1955 in high school.
My name is Bill Wishart. I'm an auto tech teacher here at Fremont High School in Sunnyvale, California. So take a look, guys. 2 weeks for the dually deadline, all right? That thing's got to tow a trailer to Vegas in 2 weeks. Okay. There. There, happy?
The thing about Bill Wishart is he's a no-nonsense guy. I mean, he has very high standards about how you will behave, how you will act as a student in his class, and also what you're expected to do.
And Brian, ready? Ready? Yeah, he gets his own category here. Okay, so you get to wire the whole front of the truck. You guys ready? Yeah. All right, let's do it. Got in an accident over the summer and the work truck got smashed, so I've been out of a truck. So the kids, you know, have been able to put this whole truck back together, and it's going to Las Vegas in a couple weeks. We're having a big car show and band event called Viva Las Vegas. You know, they have enough pride that, you know, if I give them a project like this Chevy truck that we're building, you know, they'll be stoked if it made it clear to Las Vegas and back, you know, because they made it happen.
That's probably what started it, just this class. If I didn't have this class, I wouldn't be in the cars. I wouldn't be this far. I wouldn't have this car. This is a 1954 Chevy, 210 sedan, and when I bought it off my friend for $800, brought it here and basically tore the whole thing apart, put the engine in, new rear axle, new tires, just basically the whole thing. I was sitting in some guy's backyard for like 20 years. I'm hoping to take it to Vegas. I don't know if it can make it.
A lot of the guys you see striped, they draw it out, then they stripe it, you know, so I'm not really into doing anything twice. I want to do it once and I want to get paid for it. If I do it twice, I want to get paid for it twice. I'm really into being fast and symmetrical. My dad striped when he was a kid. My mom was an artist, and you know, kind of taught myself. And I finally met a guy that did it for a living, and he pointed me the way, showed me how to load my brush properly and stuff like that. And it was like overnight, everything changed. I think I'm done. I'm just, you know, I've got to meet all these other people that know how to do everything else, that, you know, so I can just keep learning, you know. That's why I hang out with Ian, because he sees stuff that I don't see, because he's an artist like no other. I mean, he's just a maniac when it comes to this metal work.
Set up a couple of these gussets. We're gonna run it along the entire length of the arm here. The most important thing to me right now is to make sure that these things don't break. A lot of them have been sitting around for 30, 40, 50 years, not being used. I don't know how strong they are. My first idea was to make sure they were strong. As soon as I did that, I realized it has to look good. And I want it to look good and old, like it might have happened back in the day. I hope somebody with a lot of money really likes it. It's a fine pair of headers. I'm gonna ruin them by cutting them apart and putting some silly contraption on that I create. I'm gonna keep these till I'm dead. gonna keep these till I'm all done. So maybe I'll put a little bit of me into this and hopefully it'll stay there. Whoever wants the car can just unbolt them, but I don't think anyone that's traditional would really love what's going on here right now. I think they'd be a little bit upset. Friend Scratch came over and painted my bus. I want to check out what he did. I don't know what this is gonna cost. It looks great. You said do what you want, but I didn't really need that.
I just figured, you know, the front end, you know, has all the striping on it, and the back didn't have anything, so I don't know. I'm really into a traditional vehicle, you know, like find a period and just form the car around it, you know, have like a 5-year margin. This is kind of my pride right now. I know you can't tell, but it's going to be a car that was actually a painting of Keith Wiesner.
You're asking me if my art's influenced by what I see here or the other way around, and it's both. It kind of just keeps going. Like I'll see something and it'll turn me on, and I'll go home and do a drawing of something like it, but it won't really be the same thing. And somebody else will see that and they go, wow, that's neat, I'll build a car like that. And they take it a step further, and then it just keeps getting translated back and forth.
So it's a 26T, tall T. I chopped it 12 inches, shortened it 4.5, and put a Model A cowl on it. You'll look up over the top of it when you drive it like a monster would. It'll be a car called Cherry Pie.
This is my booth of wares here, and I got all my posters and shirts and stuff that we sell. Well, when I was a little kid, my dad had all these old Rod and Customs and different magazines, and that's what I used to look at when I was a little kid. Even though it was the 70s, you know, I wasn't that into all the stuff that was going on in the 70s because I was at home looking at all these 50s Rod and Customs and stuff. This is my 50 Ford. It's a sedan and it's chopped. It looks a little more like a coupe now. Roof was shortened up a little. It has a 50 Mercury style grill opening. Grill bar made from 51 Ford grill components. I've had this since I was in high school. Just been working on it ever since. It's just kind of a long-term project.
When I built my first custom car, I got the car going, it was pretty much done, and I didn't know what to expect. Drove it down to Paso Robles, and I was surprised to see that there were other people out there doing the same thing that I was. And that's how I found the Road Zombies, was, you know, I noticed their cars, they were, you know, very similarly built to mine, and, you know, just kind of started talking to them, and, you know, they were cool. They invited me to park with them at Paso. We've got about, I would say, 17 current club members with two prospects going on right now. One of the prospects right now is a fellow named Steve Cavallero.
It's a great lifestyle, and it's a great hobby for me, and I'm stoked that I got into it, and I've met a lot of cool people, and it's actually the hot rod stuff has really got me more into art, so I'm starting to do a lot of more painting, and I just love the creative side of all these guys and what they've done.
I really love this idea of just spot welding, make it look more like rivets though. I'm going to do all the arms like that, just about an inch apart, just big, nasty welds that look like rivets. Big rivets makes me think of tanks, planes, military stuff, super industrial, so I'm going to make it look that way. That wraps it up. I think it looks really cool. I want to see it on the ground at ride height. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this man is about to desecrate a fantastic bit of Americana. Is that I tend to get carried away cartoony. That's a little bit out there, but I think it's okay. Okay. It's a 302, it's a small block Ford motor. I don't know where it came from, but it's all rebuilt and new. Yeah, this should make the car go at least 700 miles an hour. All I want to do is make this car and go to Vegas. My whole life right now revolves around this deadline. It has to be done.
Our whole goal as a car club is all of our cars, you know, we just want them to be dead nuts on, you know, as far as they want to be, it wants to be a time machine. None of these cars are by accident, you know, and I think it's all by design. I immerse myself in it. I'm sitting reading catalogs from the 60s all day, you know, I'm just, and magazines, and you just fill your brain with it, you know, and then ultimately it's a no-brainer because you think, what am I going to do about valve covers on this? And you go, I've got this idea in my head, I've seen this, it's real neat, you know, drag guys were doing it. That's the same for everybody in this club. Vern, if he's building a 40 style Lakes car.
It's what I was looking for years. I wanted a 34 3-window that I could hot rod, that I could chop, I could do, turn it into a hot rod. These are Edmunds heads, high compression heads from late 40s, early 50s. Beehive oil cleaner, an old hot rod accessory item. These are electro-line headlights, pretty rare headlights there I found at a swap meet. I got gauges on the firewall. It's got 4 chrome Strombergs, sharp intake. This is a deck lid I had louvered by Eric Vaughn. There's a lot of people, old timers, that, you know, that's who I value their opinion of. You know, a guy look at the car and go, wow, that looks like it was on the lakes back in '47.
This is my 1932 Ford 5-window coupe. Had it since 1988.
I guess it was rebellious, but at the time I was just doing what I wanted to do. I chopped the car and it was all rough welds. The paint was all melted off of it. It didn't have any windshield or anything in it. And I drove it to Bob's, and I mean, I attracted more attention than any car there. But most of it was like, wow, you really wrecked this car. And a lot of people probably had never seen a car in the process of being chopped. And that, you know, it was, you know, sure, I did take a, you know, really pristine 32 Ford and chopped it, but I mean, you know, when I got the car, there was no question that's what I was going to do to it.
It has a 54 Buick nailhead motor with a 37 Buick trans and a 39 Columbia rear end, a 2-speed rear end. It has a narrowed 44 dash, a 16-inch Ford wheels. It's chopped 4 inches.
I guess what got me involved, you know, I started looking at old photos like from the 40s, late 40s and early 50s. You know, even though it probably wasn't back then, it just seemed so mysterious and romantic and, you know, so cool.
Look at these boots, man. These are some working ass toes. And I think they're about ready to retire, so we're gonna do the ritual toe extraction. Everybody thinks that that's part of the boot, but really, if you just grip it just right, it's kind of like pulling a tooth. Look at that thing. It's ripe and ready to go. Just clip that on there. There it is. Look at that thing, man. We can use that in the car somewhere. It's a good piece of metal. Yeah, look at that. There's a sock in there. Oh, there they are. Now I'm gonna put myself in harm's way for the rest of the day. I'm gonna have to be very careful. The easiest way to put sheet metal in is just in flat plates, but obviously the floor isn't flat. So what I'm doing is establishing a whole series of triangles. So it's kind of not origami, but it's something like that. Thought I was gonna do this setup with the jagged, burned out stuff, but I don't like it. I'm gonna put it something a little bit more conservative. So I'm gonna start by making a square tube frame that surrounds this license plate. Weld it on and spot welds like you have the arms, and it's done. It's clean and it looks good. Yeah, this is sweet. It's clean. It's right. It's not my greatest vision, but it's right for this.
How would you describe the Dune buggy chick car?
That car is just, that car means so much to me, dude. It's, that car is, it's my favorite car. It's the best car I ever built. It's my favorite car in the whole world. I didn't expect that question. My ex-best friend, ex-girlfriend, she was a super rad artist, painter, sculptor. She said, well, why don't we make a flying dune buggy? I said, what? Yeah, like if Amelia Earhart met Tank Girl, and they got together and made a dune buggy, this is what it would be. A lot of workmanship, a lot of skill, but you know, it ain't cool. It just isn't. My father was working in this building doing construction. He got friendly with the janitor, and the janitor would give him cases of toilet paper and tampons, because that's, you know, all he could hook him up with. He was a janitor. So we always had all these boxes of tampons around, and I had to make these huge fiberglass shapes, and I didn't have enough material. So I mocked it up with some paper mache on the outside, and I took the tampons and threw them in the fiberglass. And they sucked full of this stuff, and I just laid them on. So it's kind of funny that it's a chick car, and it's made out of tampons, the whole rear end. Now this is a really big pizza box. Always order the extra large if you have to make any templates for a pickup truck bed. All in all, I think this is good for now. We'll trim it up later after we get all the folds put in it. This type of forming with the metal, it strengthens it. I'm designing so that it looks cool too, but it's mainly for strength because I want this lid to be able to hinge up and support itself. So these will really put a lot of strength in it. I guess again, back to the my car, their car thing. My car would have this.
How do you know when it's right?
I don't know that it's right. Call me in an hour. Maybe I'll just rip this thing and throw it in the garbage. This window frame, I made it from an original 39 Auburn windshield. I modified it to fit this car. I want to use these two cool old gauges. I don't know where they came from, but got oil pressure and water temperature. I don't know what this ashtray is from, but it's pretty cool looking. All right, that'll help you with your nicotine fix. And now for your alcohol fix, I think we'll install this fine bottle opener on the dashboard too. The police love to see that. I thought it would look cool to have the same kind of spot welded look like we did with the arms. A car, like any art piece, is an entity unto itself. You want to have a continuity. This is what's left of the original steering wheel. I don't know what year this came from, but obviously it's very old. It's just going to be too big. It's probably going to be up like that. It's here. Let's change it around. I guess my favorite thing about the old tools is that it's not with mass production in mind. It's all about the handcrafting. So you get a lot of tools left over from industry that don't make money for people, so you can pick them up cheap. At first, I set up the steering column. I hooked up the original steering wheel, and it was too big. It didn't fit, so I just made a new hoop and made a smaller wheel. I mean, now that it's starting to look more like a car, I'm thinking about the paint, and of course I was originally going to go with like flat black with red accents, but after seeing the dashboard and how cool it looks, I think I want to see what this will look like when I shine it up. I guess the reason I'm considering making it all metal as opposed to painting it flat black is because it'll just more showcase what I do. It's like I don't pride myself in auto body or Bondo or paint. I pride myself in making stuff out of metal. Makes me think of like a sardine can or something. It's like it's cool. I think the rusty frame is enough. Paint the rest black. I can't decide where to put the shifter. I mean, originally I was gonna put it in the middle, big tall shifter. My other car has that. I've seen a lot of other people do it, but there's just no room in here. So I remembered I had this is an emergency brake for a Chevy truck, like a 66 or something. I think I want to make a jockey shift, a suicide shift for this car. So when you're driving, you're out of the car. You're like, it's really tough. Come on! Two, drive, neutral, reverse, park. Cool.
If we pick a certain era of a hot rod or a custom and the time frame of when that car might have been built, and then we just basically adhere to that year or group of years and build the car within those parameters.
My name's John Fisher, and I've been a chopper member for the full life of the club. And this is my 36 Ford. It's all done 40 style, kind of motorboat style. It's been chopped, 40 Ford fenders, and the taillights have been changed, and now they've been blended into the tail guards. And everything's been shaved. It was my initial design, and I kind of researched it. It has a 50 Ford Deluxe steering wheel. You know, it would be in primer, but I've kind of gone beyond primer and finally painted it. And I don't know, it just kind of snowballed. It was hard to stop doing stuff to it.
Kind of gives you a feel what it would have been like for a guy driving it, you know, in the 40s or the 50s or the 60s or whatever, depending on what car we're driving. You know, it's like a time machine in a lot of ways, I think.
We had these guys on here. I'm gonna save them maybe for one of my own cars, but we're gonna go traditional on this, or at least as traditional as I can muster. A lot of people talk about Ed Roth. They love his style, his aesthetic style, and he does stuff that nobody even understands, or he did stuff that nobody understands. So that's what I want to do. People understand this. They can relate. Hopefully they'll pay a lot of money for it so I can do what I really want. I've seen this car before somewhere. That's all I can say. I'm trying to create something that everyone likes, except me. I think it's so done, just like that. Yeah, I decided that these things suck. Change it. Follow me. I think aspiring to a traditional build absolutely holds me back. I like the look of it, but I'm not concerned with the year, make, manufacturer. I'm just looking for an aesthetic. And that's what I love about this kind of approach, is that you're not really bound by $1 million paint job. You can change it every week if you want. And it still looks rad. I'm just gonna start painting it. It's gonna evolve into something fantastic. I thought it would look really cool if we left rust in a lot of spots and just put the only gloss paint on the whole car, which is high gloss clear, to just showcase all the old metal. I think that'll look really badass. The body was just too nice. I just You thought I forgot about those steel toes, didn't you? I didn't have a vent for it, you know? You need a little ventilation in there. I think they're perfect. I just knew it would come to me. I knew those toes were gonna be worth something, man. They were too cool to just throw out. My favorite thing is that you can take something that people will recognize and just warp it into something that they don't recognize.
That's my super project back there. Probably like in a year or so, I'm gonna start on that. It's a 50 olds. It's my 55. I had that up and running about probably 8 years ago now. One of my crazy buddies, Nacho, he had some wild idea to build a tiki head for some reason. He didn't know what to do with it, so we brought it over here. But it was one of those things like, you know, who knows what the hell we're doing here with this thing, you know? So this is the workshop. This is where all the cars get built out of here. Maybe 6 to 10 cars within the last 3 years.
This is where you built this car?
Yeah, this is where I built this car. The engine's a 57 392. The carburetion's 4 Webers. The frame I hand built. Only the front 2 feet are the original Model A frame, and the rest is 2x4 box tubing. 46 Ford steering column, 32 style dash. I chopped at 4 inches. It's got an old roll pan on the back from a 50s hot rod I found in an old man's garage. It was the only piece he saved from his high school hot rod that he had. We get our kicks off of trying to build it as traditional as we can, rather than just buying parts out of a catalog. We're just kind of bringing it back to the roots where it started.
Like an expectant father.
Nervous?
Yes, nervous.
Somebody squirted oil down the cylinder wall.
Oh yeah, filled it with oil. It's the sweet smell of success. I think the artist's struggle is finding out how he wants to express himself, so one day it was black, the next day it was silver. That's all I can say. I was moved to sand the entire car just to see, and I think I like this. I finished off the tailgate here. Just took the remaining piece from this after I cut it, welded it across here, and just put a little bar on the back for a handle. I got some hinges that were just laying around and put them in there. Put some reinforcements and then just sprayed it with undercoat. I'm gonna spray a clear with a little gold flake in it, so it's just a little more dramatic when the sun's on it. Oh, he's the guy with the gold car. Yeah, I saw that car out there. That's the gold one. You gotta go. It's almost time. You gotta go. After it was gold, I was horrified, so I sprayed it black in an effort to just make it fit. It looked like Liberace. It was so wrong.
The car club, the Shifters from Southern California, throw a car show every year. Their whole deal is a pre-63 car show, all traditional built rods and customs. There's thousands of people up here, hundreds of cars. They turned away 200 cars at the gate this morning that didn't fit the criteria. It's all about the traditionally built custom and hot rod.
Well, we made it. We pulled in last night. This place was already packed. I couldn't believe it. Met the road zombies from up north and saw the giant tiki, and these dudes saved us a spot to park as well. And I guess they dug the car. I guess I was really concerned with that and the whole build, making sure that the people who were into the traditional stuff respected what I did.
I think Ian's car is real awesome. You know, personally, I'm into the more traditional style cars, and his car is definitely along the lines of very traditional, the way it looks. Very artsy. He's done a lot of classy artwork with it as far as his welding and stuff like that, which is cool. You know, he's personalized it.
I was noticing the tie rod ends, how all the welds and stuff, all this like kind of little spot welds. It's cool. It looks like it came out pretty awesome.
And there's just thousands of people here right now that want to be involved. If every car looked the same here, I guess it would be pretty boring. So there's a smattering of all different types of cars. Painted cars, primer cars, rusted cars. I'm not gonna pick apart someone's car. I'm just gonna build my car the way I want to build it.
There's people here that don't have a car, but they're gonna have a car next year because they go, that's looks fun to me. So I'm gonna go search out and buy a car and start working on it.
You know, it's all about fun. There's no attitude here, you know, with us or any of these other people. Everyone's here for a good time. You gotta come here by yourself and you leave with 20 new friends. It's really cool.
Right now on this special edition of Full Custom Garage, Master Metalman Ian Roussel continues his journey back in time.
I always want my work to be evolving.
Created in 2010, this film features another classic build.
We got about a month to get this car done for Vegas. I gotta hit this with all guns blazing.
Plus, an inside look at the world of 50s customs.
See, everybody checks it out, man. Mercedes people pull up next to it, say how it's cool, and straight up homeless people on the street.
With old school legends.
I try to create things that have not been done before.
And next generation builders.
Try number 2.
Full Custom Garage presents Back from the Dead 2.
Some people might say, well, the engine is the most important, but to me that is not. It's more the look and the design.
Everything I do with all of my cars is old stuff. I just don't dig ordering stuff from catalogs. I like to build everything myself.
I'm not talking about a new car with a computer. I know nothing. I don't want to know nothing.
A couple of people has asked me, you know, where did you get this car? Where did you find this car? You know, you tell them, oh, you know, we did it.
Doing a new project. I'm out here looking for a new car. I want to do a custom, something pre-1955, preferably a two-door. And we're trying to get it to Vegas in 2 months. There's a big show going on, so I really like to just kind of go out in the world and see what the heck's available. I mean, I don't have my sights set on anything specifically. Just kind of hunting around, looking for something to start on and try to strike a good deal. Talk about an oddball. I've never seen one. I mean, it's not really like a custom, but if you laid this thing on the ground and just made it a total driver, this thing would steal the show. This thing is huge. It's not really the look I'm going for. This car's got potential, but it's not the one. This is more what I'm talking about. Another DeSoto, 40 something, 41, who knows?
like cool features on all these different cars, but I don't know, I'm just not feeling it. I've been looking all around for a few days now. I've hit up like 5 different spots, and when I see it, I'm gonna know it. I'm just not finding it right here. My friend Roman, he's got a line on this 54 Chevy. It's over at his buddy's house, so I think we're gonna check it out. This is perfect, man. I mean, this is exactly what I was looking for. It's never been crashed or really beat to hell. It's just old. Typically, most people would like a running car with very little rust, but I don't care. I'll cut the whole thing apart. I'll just build whatever it needs. I think we'll take it. It's cool. Thank you. On the 54, everything mechanically is junk, so I need to find a car that I can pull all the new stuff out. It's all the way in the back. Yeah, all the way by that dumpster. What I'm looking to do is update the drivetrain. This Skylark is a perfect example because it has late model 350 V8. It's got power steering, power brake. I can gut everything I need out of this thing and put it into the new car. Thank you, Gus. I appreciate it. For this car, we're gonna do it in 2 months, no joke. We're just gonna hustle it out. There's no other way. I gotta hit this with all guns blazing. So my friends Roman and Trent are gonna help me out. The only thing I wanted to save from the 54 was the 2 pieces of glass, front and rear windows, and the body skin. We just got rid of everything. What I'm looking to do is update the drivetrain. It's typical to subframe a car, so that's what I'm gonna do with this. The reason that I'm subframing the car is 2 points. I'll have the opportunity to Z the frame and lower it, and it will update all the steering, the motor, everything. All the mechanical parts will be newer. Yeah, it's cool. Now all that's left to do is everything.
Let's see, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I got 12 projects going on right now. My first car was a 28 Model A coupe, and I didn't really know what to do with it. I put an antenna on it for a foxtail. You know, that was cool to run a foxtail on your antenna. Didn't have a radio, but I had to have that foxtail. This is my spray booth. I started the blending of paint. We call it fading or blending. This is one of my Gene Winfield blended paint jobs. You can see how I go very dark, very blackish green here, and then gradually work up into the lighter green up in this area. But that's a Winfield blend or a Winfield fade. This is a 51 Merc, and he brought it to me as a pretty much a stock body. So we've chopped it, we slanted the post, rounded the corners, and molded off all the door handles. And we do a thing here where we weld the front fenders to the cowl, and I make this piece all in here with a drip rail and everything, all by hand to, to tie this together, and it makes a nice look. Every custom car, the customer is making a statement. Whether they realize it or not, they're making a statement with that car.
How old are you right now?
82.
And you're still working?
Oh, I work 12, 14 hours a day, every day I'm home. If a guy retires and just goes sit in a chair and watch TV, he's gonna die. You gotta keep active and keep things working.
You can see here the old leaf spring used to mount right here. But what I'm doing with the ones from the Buick is I'm moving them inboard of the frame rail and I'm putting it up into the floor of the car so you can see the difference. I mean, it's about 6 inches drop. I think that'll work out good.
I had done a bunch of race car and street race car fabrication, and these guys were doing what they call a mini tub. Their idea was that it would give them more room for fatter tires. I saw it as a way to move the leaf springs inboard of the frame, effectively lowering it. I'm gonna have my 2 beautiful assistants prepare the axle for delivery, and I will shortly thereafter bolt it in. I came up with this idea for the rear leaf spring perches. I'm gonna put 2 crossovers, 1.5 inch tube across the frame, and the springs will actually locate between them on these cross braces. Now that I got this framework tacked in, the car will suspend itself. I'm gonna stop right here and I'm gonna chop it. I just wanna see how the ride height looks with the chop top because they have to look good together. It's kind of like building a house. I really just wanted to just start with a solid foundation, get the front clip, the rear suspension all established, and then work up from there.
In the early 50s, when customizing was probably not fully mainstream, George Barris was the one that promoted it and made it mainstream. When Barris moved from the Compton Avenue shop to Linwood, he had both of these buildings, this building and the building next door. This was a note he sent when I called him and told him that I rented this building and what the whole plan was and stuff. This letter came in the mail like a couple days later. When I was in high school, there was a Rod and Custom magazine that came out that had an article on Barris, the early years. And I showed this to my friend and said, hey, you know, how cool would it be to work there? In the early 50s, this was the parking lot. That's what this wall is here. You would be standing pretty much where this Lincoln like bumper is. Ideally, it'd be neat to have this shop to where people could come and see what's being done, and it really feels like you just walk back in time. This Ranchero is gonna be this car. He first brought us the car and with this picture and said, I want to build something like this. And it was like, well, if you like this car, you know, why don't we just build this car? We try and get people to pick an era. It doesn't limit you, but it gives you just an idea, a little spectrum of what would look right when the whole thing's done. Mostly for us, we try and just stick in the little era of what the customer wants. Like, hey, I want my 55 Cadillac to look like it was made in the late 50s. And then you got pretty much everything laid out, what you want to run. The majority of the stuff we use, if we're starting with something that hasn't already been messed with before, we try and do it on lead. We don't have a lot of modern tools and stuff. So we thought, well, there's kind of our niche right there. It would be neat to have only old stuff, you know, to use all old tools that are twice as old as you are. But I like to do as much acetylene welding and stuff as I can. It's neat having that kind of stuff around. Like, it just feels comfortable. It feels like it's done this job before. All I gotta do is keep doing it, you know?
If somebody asks me to chop a car, again, I look at it and I make sure that the top flows. See, that's the most important thing to me, is to flow the top, and you do that right through the rear window. So the whole rear window and everything flows with that roof. So that's important, is the flowing of the top.
For some reason, I'm fascinated about this sloping roof line, and maybe I'm all wrong by using cars like this, because I've tried it twice so far, and both were a little exaggerated. But I think if I mellow it out and just don't be so drastic about it, I think it'll be a good look. I'm not doing anything like, oh, 3-inch chop in the back, 2-inch in the front, or whatever. It's not gonna be like that. I'm just gonna cut the roof off and see how it looks. The most challenging part of chopping a top is the glass. You have to build the top around what you're doing with the glass. I didn't like the B-pillar, so I just came up with this idea to tilt the roof back and just refit the whole back window skin.
kind of that moment of truth. Everything's cut out. I just got to figure out exactly where I want to cut the windshield pillar to tilt this thing down. One of the concerns I have is the trim as it comes through. It follows a nice smooth line. So if I pivot it here, then the trim will come up. Unless I cut it just above the trim line and then just lay the windshield down, pivot it right here, then they'll come up a little bit. I think that's what I'm gonna do. So I decided I wanted to just keep the stock size front and rear window. I don't want any of my cars to look really mellow. I want them to look kind of freaky, kind of different. I think by leaving the stock height front glass and just sloping it, it'll give it a cool look. I think I nailed it. I don't know what to say besides that. It's gonna work perfectly. I got it. It's cut, it's down, that's the line. Still kind of developing maybe what this signature flavor might be, but I always want my work to be evolving.
It's like Picasso, where you put a torch and a cutting wheel in Ian's hand, and this is what you get. You find a Picasso in the garage, I got a Ian Roussel in my garage.
I'd say Victor's been my greatest supporter out of anyone since I've opened the shop.
I couldn't find anybody that could bring my thoughts into reality till I met Ian. The guy is literally one of the greatest artists I've ever met, and I love art, so you could tell by all just things he's done with his hands or what he could come up in his mind with imagination. And more than anything else, the guy is an engineer.
Well, the best thing about the way we work together is it's his vision, and he just lets me run with it. He comes in and critiques it, and it's really just it's a great exchange. My main concern with this window is the way that the chrome strip is gonna fit. I'd love to reuse the stock chrome that comes around here, but because the windshield and the rear window are on different angles in relation to the body, the chrome just might not work out, I'm not sure. Keep using the word convincing in a lot of the stuff I've been building lately because that's what separates the guys who know what they're doing from the guys who don't. You see a little mismatch in the way the trim's gonna fit and it's not convincing. Putting the window back in was the hardest part of the job. All it takes is one wrong move, lose the whole thing. I'm stoked with the way this window fits. I'm just gonna take my time, weld it nice so I don't warp the roof skin. It's on. I mean, we're there. It's just a matter of following through. I wanna make sure that these guys fit before we get any further into this. Yeah, that's cool. Just trying to verify whether or not this roof skin distorted with the pillars, but it's cool, it's right on. We got about a month to get this car done for Vegas. I think we got it.
See, everybody checks it out, man. It's funny because like even Mercedes people pull up next to it, say how it's cool, and straight up homeless people on the street think it's cool. People just enjoy seeing it. Or to see somebody that probably ain't got the best deal going, but to see him walk by and smile about it is cool, you know? It's a 51 Chevy Fleetline that's been chopped, the side trim's been removed, the door handles, the headlights are French, the emblem off the hood and trunk are removed, and the taillights are moved down into the bumper guards. I drove it stock, you know, just as it was when I was working with George Barris and I told him I want to do custom work, he kind of shrugged it off like there was no money in it and, you know, I should stick with him and we'll do, you know, movie and TV stuff and car shows and things like that. You know, I don't really care about what it pays or whatever, you know, it's what I wanted to do. And so that's when he said to go work with Bill. I don't know where he is. I don't know what I want to say about him, really. I mean, he's just like, I don't know. It's hard to explain it, to explain his deal. He does what he likes to do. That's the coolest thing about it. He's got the experience that just is unmatched by anybody.
I'm not a teacher. All I do is point out mistakes. Somebody makes a mistake, I know what to do with it. I had to figure out all my mistakes. Nobody helped me with mine.
It was like going to college in a way. You know, just the way he works with things, his patience, and he never once yelled at me or got frustrated at me. George would yell, you know, all the time. It was a totally different vibe. We did this car in the afternoons and maybe one day a week when I was working over there. Bill, he had it figured out.
After I looked at it a little bit, I knew what to do. I just did it. With the experience and a lot of German talent, it was easy to put together. I don't have a blueprint, I don't have a pencil mark. It all comes out of my head. No fastback like that's ever been done like that, ever. I've done this top and everything completely different than anybody's ever done.
The first car we chopped in here, I brought Bill over to look at it, you know, and he looks at it and he studies it all over and he goes, yeah, it looks like I did it. He takes pride in his own stuff, and for him to say it looks like he did it, that's the best compliment you're gonna get out of him.
I love work, 7 days a week. I guess that's why I'm 88 years old. I wasn't afraid of it.
He likes this car. I always wanted a fastback, and plus the fact that me and Bill worked on it together, it's like, I wouldn't even want to get rid of it, really. You know?
I don't want to use the stock 54 tail lamps. They're just typical. When you look at the car, it identifies it right away. So I had this idea about cutting and rounding the back of the fender so it doesn't stick out. Something about the way the roof line flows, this is bugging me, how it just sticks out like a thing. I don't know. This is so rusty in the rear of it. I'm gonna change the bumper, and I gotta cut this whole portion out anyway. So I'm thinking I'll just hack it off and section this piece of tube in there and just join the fender to it. I think it'll work. And I think this matches it pretty good. I think I'll just splice in right about here. I don't even see a reason to take the rest of the tube off. I was thinking about cutting it in half, but why? I'll just lap the sheet metal to it, and I mean, that's freaking strong. Kind of weird to put a big tube in the quarter panel of the car, but it's what I need. It looks great. We're on a strict deadline. I could spend 2 months making a quarter panel. It's just gonna be a piece of sheet metal, I'll form it to the contour of the body. This fender's kind of a funky shape. It's a compound curve in a few different ways. I'm just gonna tack it in place and then hammer it with a dolly. I think it'll follow through fine. This is a really complex shape, and to form it freehand with the shrinker and hammering and all the other crap you got to get involved with, it would have been a lot of work, and I just, by clamping it and welding it and hammering it as I went, it worked out good. Because this is more of a sculpture, it's just a shape that I have to look at the whole thing, so I want to just get this taillight fender area finished and then color the whole car gray so I can kind of get a concept of what it looks like.
I mean, the whole idea is just to get what it looks like in one color. And I'll be damned if it doesn't look like a car.
Yeah, it's cool. You could geek out on something till the end of time, but I think by doing those two simple things, raking the stock front glass back and lowering the taillights, it's a different car. It's really cool. I think the roof line is nailed. I think it's done.
What are you doing, Roman?
Just making this part pretty.
We're in San Fernando. Basically, right now, what we're doing is we're gonna go meet up with the rest of the homies to go to cruise night every Wednesday down here in the valley. My background with cars, it started off when I was a little kid where I used to live. Like I said, every Friday, you see the Broms just ripping their pipes and with all the nice hyenas and everything. It looks nice. That's basically, I got stuck in that little moment. And my style would be, most people would consider it Chicano style. I don't like to modify anything at all on my cars. I like to keep it stock.
He just came here one day, said he wanted to learn. He's learned some and he's taught me some too.
He has different points of views when it comes to cars, and I have mine. We balance each other out.
I'm starting to become bilingual, learning Spanglish. I know a couple things about low riding. And in his own respect, he's a badass. He knows what he's doing.
I would consider myself a traditionalist, but I'm not stuck to that boundary like, oh, this is what I am, this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. Nah, because if you do that, it gets boring. I like to see new things, try new things, and hear the feedback from people, what they say. If they don't like it, then that's too bad, it's my car. If they like it, well, it's for sale. You never know.
The car's so low that it's gonna drag the bumper on stuff, so the closer the bumper is to the body, it'll help it out a little bit with clearance. But also, I just like the look of it being a little bit more tucked in.
Welded on the rear pan, so I'm just trying to get a placement for the notches for the bumper bracket to come through. I made the pan lower than the brackets just for aesthetics, just so when you look at it, it looks a little bit cleaner.
This looks perfect. I'll take it. Yeah, that's pretty much what I was looking for. That's cool. What do you think?
Yep, you can't even tell what we did.
I keep reiterating, it's easy. Making a car like this is just, you know, I want to make something crazy. This is just time. It looks great. It's just not my greatest vision. I like conjoined twins, three-legged dogs. Here it is, a space junkie. 5 years of toil. It's a 1931 Chevy. I call it the Space Junkie. We just won Best of Show at the show here at the Hard Rock. This is more artwork than it is standard car stuff. Something I always wanted to see. It was just a crazy Hot Wheels kind of freaky car and show car. It's got a sliding sunroof. It's got airbag suspension, 20-inch rims with wood spinners. I mean, nobody's got this. It's its own thing. It's brand new. I built the Space Junkie because I just wanted to go crazy. I wanted to make it a wild thing. That's all. It had no parameters.
This dude's leg was fully ripped off. This whole fucking leg was just hanging off. It was just a bone and like muscles. And Mike was like, hey, there's this cat in the backyard. Like it got ran over or something. It's like about to die. I was like, all right, well, let me give it like its last meal, you know? And I grabbed its foot like this and it didn't like squirm or anything. And so before we went to Kansas last year, we cut all the meat and off it and made like a splint out of like stir sticks and taped it all up and made this cone out of like a Taco Bell cup and fully glued it back together. And now she cruises.
When I look at a grill or an opening for a grill in a car, what I do is I study it for a while and then I come up with maybe some rough sketches and I try to create things that have not been done before.
Roman said he had this idea about using multiple bumper guards for the grill teeth. It just seemed like a cool idea. Knowing how to cast aluminum parts, I decided let's go for it. It's pretty cool looking. That's one more. It's pretty weird. Hey, Roman.
Oh, Beer's just not done yet.
Looks like Tomater.
Nah, Tomater was different.
We're about 2 weeks out at this point, and there's a ton of stuff to do. I took the rear taillights out, so I want to put them in the rear bumper guards. I found these cool little lenses at the Trucker's Mart. The problem I was having is they're just sitting there. They needed a way to be retained, held in place. What I came up with was I was thinking, what's super lightweight, aesthetically appropriate? So I was looking at a regular soda can and this lens, and they're the same size. There's no catalog I found that has the part that I need for this. It's a very delicate aluminum stamped shape that would be very hard to recreate otherwise. It's just, why not? Some people have a real problem with it. As of late, in mainstream custom culture car building, those two things, using junk and building cars, are at complete opposite polarities. But none of those guys are gonna have a trim ring like this, I guarantee you. Most of the people who have responded to the work that I do really dig the fact that I just take stuff and manipulate it to achieve my goals. Come on, that's freaking golden. We're about a week out, and I gotta call in all the help I can. It's time to get this thing nailed. We're on our way to Burbank Airport to pick up Big Bob Gore, or as someone has put it, hardcore Bob Gore. Bob is an eccentric who stalks me on cyberspace, and he's come by the shop a bunch of times and helped me out with my cars. He's a pretty cool dude, so he wanted to come by and help out with this one too. Hop on in.
One thing's for sure is I'm going to be like the happiest guy in the world for the next couple of weeks, and there's just nothing, no way around it. That's just a guaranteed fact.
I consider him one of my best friends, man. This is an opportunity of a lifetime. What I do for a living is I restore cars, I fabricate metal. Also, I'm a body man and painter.
Bob's my friend from out in Wisconsin. He saw the first DVD and it just thrilled him. So we just kind of got to know each other over the phone, and he's come out a couple times to help me work on my cars. It's a good thing.
My claim of being Ian's biggest fan is the fact that I drive my family crazy because pretty much just about every day, you know, at the end of the evening, I throw in the video. Sometimes you need something to inspire you.
I asked Bob to come over and paint the car, because that's what he does. He's just down for the cause.
It's awesome.
I think you could say it's a lowrider-inspired car, no question. And what I saw with those cars was a lot of simple paint work done, but people just went crazy on the roofs. And I kind of dig it. It's like wearing a fancy hat or something.
The idea of having a finished roof on a car that was in primer doesn't work for me.
I think it's the wrong choice because it's almost like wearing one shoe on one foot and going barefoot on the other. Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel. The Pope was telling him how to paint it, when in all actuality he knew that Michelangelo knew that it should be this way. So
that's me, man. I'm in that position.
Yep, you're the Pope and I'm Michelangelo.
I didn't see what he was seeing. I felt it was the wrong way to go.
I'm used to painting a whole car at once, not just one section of it. And
we'll get used to it, man. This isn't a dealership. We had a disagreement about how the car should be painted. The bottom line is we need to get through this paint job so we can finish the rest. So I just let him go with it.
It was the first time he and I ever butted heads. It's frustrating in this time frame. Was psycho. I mean, it's crazy, especially if you want perfection.
I walk in on the car and the first impression makes it, and the car just imploded. It just sucked all the light out of the shop. It was not palatable. I didn't like it at all. After the events and everything, you know, obviously we're behind schedule, et cetera. I honestly don't see the car going to Vegas. No, I mean, we're not going to take it.
Oh.
It's going to take a lot more time to finish everything. It just is what it is. To show an unfinished piece at the car show of this caliber, there's a lot of pressure on it, you know? We're trying to do something cool where it's a really finished, nice thing, and it can't happen in 2 or 3 more days. Okay. And what I was trying to do, I think I made statements from the start of this, has been kind of pigeonholed for these rusty, sloppy cars, because I built a couple and they're super fun. But the most criticism that I've gotten so far is that, you know, the rat rods, everything that I've done, and it's just not the case. And, you know, with the other car that I've done, the past 2 cars have been finished and nice. And I just want this one to represent, you know, a better level of finish.
I was massively depressed that, and then it was just like when we conflicted with the paint job scheme, I felt the same way. If I could stretch it out any longer, I would stick back and redo, you know, paint the car the way Ian wants it done, and show people that what I can do, but we couldn't.
I guess I'm just at a little loss for words. It's, you know, it's pretty much a bummer. I mean, it really freaking pains me to call it off. You know, everybody was hoping for it. Everybody was planning on it, you know. It's my call, and, you know, I gotta kind of bust these guys' bubble. I don't know, man, that's the stark reality of things. People like to make this out to be rock star stuff, but it's really not. Bottom line is, this is my mark
I'm not gonna do it halfway. It's gotta be right, and I don't care how much effort it takes. It ain't done till I say it's done.
We got everything done on the car I wanted to. Paint looks good. We put the upholstery in and just took it up to this show in Ventura. It's finished.
I'm your foe. When you bring me sorrow, you bring me pain. Baby, baby.
We made it. We motored out on the freeway and it's all good. Made it here and the show's on. Pretty cool.
It's quite a nice ride, everything about it. It's pretty darn impressive and a lot of work.
They just put so much thought into it and worked on it so hard. So each custom has a personality, which is your own. Your ideas, your thoughts, it all goes to your car. So that makes a custom right there.
Spaceships from outer space. They told me they take me.
Sometimes, in order to move forward, you gotta look back. People are always asking me how the heck I do all this, all by myself. Fact of the matter is, without the help from a lot of folks, these projects just wouldn't happen. My friend Tom and I have done a bunch of projects together. Whenever I need some help, he's on my short list. So I don't recognize this truck shell. Is it Dodge?
Nope, International.
Oh, wow. This time was a little different. Tom called me over to his friend Hot Rod Bob's place for a project of his own. Oh man, what's up with the back wall?
There should be a window here.
You ain't kidding.
Right, but it was apparent. It looked like it had been in a wreck. There was a pretty big dent and the sheet metal was wavy, so it had to go.
Well, I mean, it's definitely unique, the fact that it's an International for sure, but is there like a thing with this? Family heirloom? Or?
Well, there is. I've wanted an International. And when I was looking for a hot rod project, I went back and forth, Chevy, Ford. I kept coming up to International. Well, I struck a deal with my neighbor to get the International. But once we got it home and Bob and I took a look at it, it was really obvious how rough it was and how long it had been sitting.
We started on the cab and it's got a great style to it, but we kind of gave up on it.
I know it. It's not the prettiest looking thing to look at, but I see the potential in it. I'm really hoping that Ian does too.
See, Tom's got a lot of passion, especially for this vehicle, and this truck's got major issues. Now, class, there are a number of things wrong with the back of this truck. So right here, you see it's out right here. And that's a lot, right? And then on this side is the exact opposite, so you got the roller coaster effect. If I was to follow this line with the sheet metal, this is what it'd be doing. It's like way the heck out of shape. I'm not really sure if Tom knows how far gone this truck is. So the good news is I got a plan, but the not so great news is that instead of just putting this wall in and fixing the window, we kind of got to rehab the back third of the truck. There was numerous impacts. Instead of just putting in a window, let's just fix the whole back of the truck. It's gonna be way better for it. We'll clean all this crud out of here and we'll make it nice. It's never too late to shop it. That's the whole idea here, you know what I'm saying? So once I start working my influence and my hypnotizing ways. How many fingers am I holding up, right? You're going left, you're going right.
No chop.
Going down a hall, you're turning left, you're turning right. Tom is a pretty sentimental cat. He and I worked on some projects he wasn't so attached to, but when he picks it for his own, things get complicated. When you're dealing with someone's prized possession, their passion, the last thing they want to see you do is go at it with a frickin' knife. It's like they're thinking, oh, good times. No, that's later on. Right now, it's war. It's like visiting the dentist. Don't be nervous.
Oh, man. It's very hard to watch. Was I expecting him to cut out the whole back of my cab? No.
Once we got that back wall in place, I knew that this back window had some issues. Look at this arch here, and look at this. Tell me it doesn't look like it's out of shape completely.
It's a little over 9 inches, about 9 3/8 right there. And then we come here, we're almost to 10.
That's what I'm seeing. It's whacked out.
I'm really hoping that Ian can pull some tricks out of his hat to make this thing better.
The good news is we can fix that thing. I got a plan.
You got a plan?
Yeah. About to get medieval on this.
Is this one of the tricks that he has in his hat? I don't know, but I mean, it looks like something that came out of a barbecue. It doesn't look like a good idea.
It looks pretty rough.
Are you sure this is gonna work? What do you mean? Dude, you roasted my window.
This is a pretty unique shape we're dealing with here. So the next step is to make a little dolly tool that we can hammer the thing back into shape with. Red on that side?
Yes, red.
Hi-ya! Dink. That looks pretty darn close, eh? The idea here is when you're away from your shop, you know, sometimes you gotta improvise. You see that dent anywhere?
Yeah, man, it's
Dent
gone.
disappeared.
Man, it was a totally unorthodox way of going about it, but it worked. Ian managed to straighten out this window frame. Wow, man, you did it. Look at that.
Done, done. I was really excited with the result that we got from this because this was a pretty rough project. And in the end, it worked out. Tom got exactly what he wanted. That's the biggest satisfaction for me, just helping a brother out. You know, hanging out with friends, spinning the cars around the dirt, that's what it's all about. Good, wholesome fun. No conversation about my friends would be complete without Victor. Seems like we've been working together forever, and he's always pushing the realms of what I can accomplish. After a bunch of custom car builds, he had this wild idea to take things in a new direction.
This is the flavor, man. That's something that you were meant to build your entire life.
But of course, it wasn't that simple. Here he is, Mr. Sports Car.
Man, this thing drives so good. I mean, really good.
Are you saying we're gonna do this instead of that, or what?
No.
So you bought two cars and you don't want either of them. You can try to make something you do
I
want.
don't want a Porsche, and I don't want a Sterling Volkswagen.
I see the potential in both of these. I mean, there's good and bad in each of them. You know, it's just like, I thought we were building a piece of junky car there, and then you show up with this thing, so I'm a little confused.
Okay, I'm confused too, but our goal is to put this car on this car and take this car apart and build ourselves a supercar that doesn't exist.
What I came to understand and eventually did was cut the entire body off the Porsche, saved only the roof from the Sterling, and then sculpted an entire new car body that we could eventually make a fiberglass mold off of. This is a perfect example of what it's like going down the rabbit hole with Victor.
We need to do some kind of crazy exhaust, right? I was thinking something kind of massive here in the middle, 3 or 4 muffler pipes sticking out of the back. Hey, I had a dream, you know? My initial idea in my mind was to see this massive car go by. You're like, what the heck was it? And all you see is this big old pipe with some fins coming out almost like a bomb. All the supercars got the fins on the bottom. Well, hey, guess what? I want the fins on the top and I want the fins on the side. Almost like a propeller to a boat, but straight.
Okay. If you haven't figured it out yet, Victor likes to throw out crazy ideas and just see what happens. Let's just make like a cardboard mock-up, come up with some kind of concept. And so something more like this or this diameter, like way big.
Yes, that's what I'm looking at. Remember, massive.
Let's just tape them on the car, see kind of what we got proportion-wise. Cool. Well, stand back and look at that. I mean, 5-inch exhaust is pretty substantial.
I was thinking of having a fin, and a fin, but I only need the fins on top, on the bottom, and the 2 on the side. And then put fins on the bottom. Yeah, exactly, a fin, okay.
As loose as this is my favorite way to work. You know, just mock something up, stand back, take a look at it, adjust as needed.
Ian, I feel like I'm in arts and crafts. I failed arts and craft in school. And you know what, as I'm looking at it, maybe 2 will do it. Check it out, stand back, see what you think.
I kind of like 3. Shop inspector's checking it out as well. I think he's gonna have the final word.
Dude, what do you think? Cool? All right, I guess he said that's cool, he wants
3's
3.
the number. 3's the number. I think it's gonna stick. Shop inspector made the call, so it was time to move forward. I made the exhaust out of aluminum, some minor modifications from our tape mock-up, and made it fit the car. Oh yeah, that's totally cool. That was just one part of the project. The front end was next, and that had challenges of its own. Working on this sports car with Victor was quite an adventure. His ideas just kept coming out of left field.
Check this out. You know, Super Bowl, right?
Right.
Well, I bought a new TV.
When I explained to Victor that we can incorporate anything into the design of this car, he takes it to heart. And I think he's trying to push the boundaries a bit.
So here's the grill, literally. Check this out. I mean, I seen it and that's where I got it. Check it out. There's the grill right there.
He's walking in the door with a pile of styrofoam. He says he bought a big screen television for the big game on Sunday. And for whatever reason, he's looking at these foam packing parts, and it looks like the grill to a supercar to him.
Ian's looking at it like, you know, scratching his head like this dude's out of it.
Starting to get a little bit loose, man. You're throwing everything at this. First the TV, next the kitchen sink.
What do you think?
As Victor's giving me a sales pitch, I'm starting to respond a bit. I mean, yeah, it does have an interesting look. You put them together, it makes like a V shape that could be a grill. You can shape foam really easily. Okay, I think we can work with this. I see what you're saying. Look at this vent you get in here.
You know, my job is to like give the basic concept and idea. Ian's job is to make it work and make it look good, because some of the stuff I come up with could be, you know, looked at kind of interesting, to say the least.
You're not down with using the TV packing for the sports car? The inspector had his reservations, but I felt like we were onto something. There's only one way to find out. Always thinking ahead on how we're gonna wrap the entire project together. By building this front grille out of aluminum, it ties in with the rear exhaust fin thing I created, so I think the aluminum will be a design aspect through the entire project. Metalwork is kind of the realm I thrive in, and to do something really, artistic is more like jewelry than just car body fabrication, so it's a nice change of pace. In the end, if you want to polish it, that would be the next step, but right now I've maintained that nice defined ridge all the way through. Look at that thing. I finished up the grill, and you could see how Victor's wild ideas translated into the finished piece. This project was something I would have never accomplished on my own, so having Victor kind of lead me through this was super satisfying.
I never knew what the car would look like. Just looking back on the amount of design work and the amount of effort in Ian's part, that he finally realized what he achieved. I mean, this was a task that not many people could pull off.
Yes.
And he did it.
This project set the bar pretty high, but knowing Victor, he's just thinking it's about here. So who knows what the heck he's thinking of next. This was a big leap, and I know he's always going bigger. I've got a bucket list of my own, and that's one thing about all the projects I've done so far is they're slowly ticking off. This beach buggy project was definitely something I always wanted to see. Maybe that's why I've been so fascinated with it, because it's stuff that I never saw it happen before me. I just happen to have a perfect donor car for my next crazy idea. Victor wasn't interested in the mechanical aspect of this car at all, so I got it running and took it for a test drive. I know Volkswagens, they're not super fast. This car really had something going. I don't know if the engine's been built up or what, but this car moved out really good. I knew it was a strong runner, and I saved the whole chassis. Victor's usually the guy pitching me the wild ideas, but this time the tables had turned. See, I'm always checking out your stashes, man, and this little fiberglass treasure trove has got me thinking. Victor is a man of many facets. One of his many facets is a lot of yards with a lot of treasure. And he's got this Model T kit car body. Picture this. The Sterling, the old Sterling chassis, it's become a hot rod. It's morphed from the glorious opening roof project to an off-road sand buggy hot rod T-bucket project. Usually when you pitch Victor an idea, he gets excited and he's like, yeah, we could do anything. And this time he's starting to draw a blank. I just see a lot of the side-to-side motion.
You just finished the supercar. Now you're gonna do a dune buggy with this, whatever you wanna call it.
This T-bucket body is exactly what I need.
Go for it, man. I was gonna throw it away anyway. You don't even need help carrying it?
No, that's what I'm saying. Ultra light, man. It's perfect. I dug through my own part stash. I got a lot of stuff. The main thing was I wanted something that looked and felt just like it would have back in the day, a vintage dune buggy. Model A tie rod and components. Model A front spring. Model A hubs and spindles. You can smell it, it's very old, don't you think? He's disinterested. It's just, dune buggies don't get the passion they deserve. Look at this. He's on Victor's team. I guess it's hard to give the sales pitch and find any buyers, it seems. You're supposed to be supportive, man. That's what a relationship's about. It's giving me the silent treatment. Being that this was gonna be used exclusively in the sand, I wanted to build an articulating front suspension. Something that looked very rudimentary, very hand-built, would have been done back in the day, and actually performed. So the idea here, and you see guys with Jeeps doing this all the time. So you got articulation in the suspension, but the two back tires are still planted flat. After I got the suspension dialed in, it felt old school. So I wanted to do something with the paint that was kind of mellow, but also kind of spectacular. The mellow, spectacular dichotomy. It's a delicate balance. Once I got it finished up, I took it to the vintage dune buggy event at Pismo Beach, and it ran great. bopping around in the sand dunes. You know, you're not out there winning no races. It's not the ultimate performance vehicle, but it sure is a heck of a good time. Another childhood dream crossed off the list. You know, I met up with Court and showed him what I had accomplished. I saw his car years ago and was so inspired by it. That was the basis for me for creating this pan buggy in that style.
You did a fantastic job. Adding the body to it just makes this so unique. It just has this unique, complete retro vibe with this kind of hot rod thing thrown on it. Can you tell me just a little bit about this paint? Because it looks, at first you'd think it's been out in the sand.
Right.
Right?
That was the idea. Court was really responding to the paint job. You know, I had my idea of what it was going to look like, but him coming in, you know, fresh to it, he's like, this almost looks like the sparkling sands of a beach. It's like a white flake, and then I used a gold flake. So when you're looking at it, it looks like the beach.
It does. It does. It totally does.
Court introduced me to Bruce Myers, the creator of the iconic Myers-Manx Dune buggy. You know, we got to talking, and he was feeling the same vibes that I was, and he really appreciated the buggy that I built. My opinion, this is what it's all about. I'm ready to build something else and get back out to the sand dunes. My friend Bill is a big-time truck guy, and he's always got some kind of project going on.
I've been trying to sell it and not really had any luck. I love it a lot. Nobody else seems to think it's that cool.
This truck needed a major cosmetic upgrade. Bill didn't want to spend a lot of money on it, so he had to get creative. You've got so much potential here, you know, there's stuff all over the place, so I think we can use a lot of the stuff you got.
That's a good idea.
Clean up the yard, the wife will be happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'll be one truck less in the driveway, guaranteed. So I went on the search, and the unique thing about Bill is he's got stuff. Everybody's got their stuff, but he's got unique stuff. Nothing starts a good project like a good treasure hunt.
When I collected all this stuff, you know, I thought, oh, well, I can use this for that, or pretty specific about it. Well, Ian, I mean, he's different. And I don't even ask him what he's gonna do. Don't wanna know what he's gonna do. Just wanna watch.
Oh, you got bigger sheets under here. Nice little mouse nest, look at this. Like a diamond in the rough. So I remember this thing. This is the same year as what we're working on now, right?
Yep.
It's a little dinged right there, but at least it's a bumper. We could start with that if we need it. What's going on in here?
You want an inline six-cylinder with the...
It's the rare factory 50 pine cone option. Look at that. I know this rack here, and I know you got some stuff. Mainly what I'm interested in is these long lengths. Any project's gonna need some structure, so this is heavy truck stuff. If you're not married to them, I can use them.
All this stuff is available.
Picked out a few things and headed back to the shop to see what I could put together. I did yank that bumper off the other truck, and I also got some good rusty steel, all that I could find. That front grille, just like the rear end, is just way overkill. I'd really like to show off the international styling instead of this big, angry-looking death bumper. Watch the paint. The stock height on that truck, the frames were right here, which is cool, it makes sense, but I'd like to see it a little bit lower. The whole idea here is to make the truck appear closer to the ground. This international bumper could work with some modifications, but you know, I just want to explore the other options, you know, maybe just do something a little more full custom. What if I took this and just turned it? You can't just slap a tube on the front of a truck and call it a bumper. I mean, come on, I'm not gonna just stop here. Make that angle like that. This is a process of trial and error. You just keep cutting and bending until the angle's right. You're looking good to me, sir. It's exactly what it needed. It's subtle, but it helps. Get the end caps on and it really finishes it off. For right now, it's conservative. You can see that's a clean bumper. Took another trip up to Bill's to see what other options I could find for the back half. Oh, and look at these things. What are these tube frames?
Shopping cart storage.
Oh, of course, you got, okay, I get it right. They pull in here.
Yep.
But look at this length and the turn down, That's like a truck bedside, right?
You know, Ian is a metal man and an artist, and he looks for shapes, but shopping cart corrals?
That's the cool thing about Bill. Even though he may not understand exactly what I'm thinking about with wanting to use these parts, he's open to it. A lot of clients wouldn't be so gung-ho about my grandiose ideas. This truck is heavy duty, so I had my friend Dominic come in to give me a hand.
It's a shopping cart corral. Like, how is that even gonna work on a tow truck?
He wasn't so easily convinced as Bill. So that's the back of the cab. Where's the back of the truck frame?
Oh, that's perfect. All right.
There's a method to the madness.
Yeah, all right.
Took a little explaining to really get the point across of my glorious shopping cart envisioning. This round really looks good with the roundness of the truck, but then we'll take that square tube and we'll make that an element for all the trimmings right from the front to the back.
Same as the front bumper.
Yeah, I think we'll just cover that. We finished up the sides and added a tailgate. Then it was time to show Bill the truck. Old Red is all wrapped up. This project's a bit different than my other ones simply because I didn't know what I had to do here. It would be way easy to go off the rails like I typically do, but fortunately I was able to keep it in check. If I drove it over here to Bill's, and if there's one thing that Bill loves, it's old international trucks.
Wow, Ian, you've arrived.
Got a little change. Looking a little different than it did last time.
Woo! Yeah, another miracle.
Old Red at your service.
You know, I saw Ian rolling in with that thing, and my first reaction was, now that's cool. The bumper, oh my gosh. The little sun visor, the tailgate, he redid the whole back of the truck, and the stance, he lowered the front. I mean, all of it was like, that's it, Ian, you did it.
Out of the scrap pile and back on the road. Another successful transformation. I love a venture into the unknown, and it was exactly that, what my friend Ken called. All I knew was that he's a total train fanatic, and he volunteers at this museum and needed some help.
What do you think?
This is the iconic classic Ford pickup truck, Model AA, the bigger truck, and why it's in a train museum is beyond me.
We want to make this a train. We want to make this a rail truck. We want to put it on the tracks.
I thrive off of new challenges, and I've never built a rail truck. It's a pretty major task, to put a truck on the tracks. It's very clear that that axle doesn't fit. So just like you back half a race car, you cut the back of the chassis off.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna do the same thing with this. As if you were tubbing a car, we're gonna narrow the frame rails and do major surgery on the axle.
I was really, really pleased that he didn't flinch. He didn't do this. We didn't know what we were gonna get from me when we showed it to him because he wasn't really prepped all the way. It just pulled him, and I was so happy to see that.
Because I knew nothing about building a rail truck, I just went back to home base. I narrowed the rear of the truck, rebraced it, and put it all back together. Meanwhile, Ken dug up a picture that really showed the concept of where they were going with this project.
This is from the State Railroad Museum. There's the truck, buddy. Is that cool?
That is freaking cool.
And you've
Whoa,
already done.
Look at that. That's nuts.
You've already done this. I mean, you've already brought it in.
In recreating this antique rail truck, the biggest challenge was the aesthetic part of this front cow catcher. Ken said that the museum had a huge part stash, so I set off to find the things to make this happen. Not only does the stuff have to fit the look, it has to function. It has to feel like it's old and crusty. I mean, it takes a trained eye to really spot what you need. I'll grab some of the smaller stock. This is like shoe shopping, What style looks the best, what style fits. This is exactly what's on the drawing. This matches the turnbuckles, this diameter. I'd call that a successful outing. I gotta make this cow catcher catch cows. This is our canvas. So obviously, according to the picture, these things aren't straight. They're pitched forward in a V formation, ready to catch cows. So we got to make these look like that. First step, set up the acetylene torch. Pow! A nice hot stick. Put it right there and give it a bend. This is old school metalwork, you know. It takes fire to bend metal. That's what I'm talking about. Full custom blacksmith. This cow catcher's really taking shape, you know. It may be the best cow catcher I've ever made. I got one more idea that'll really sell it. This thing is looking cool, just like it would have been on the rail line back in the day. In the end, Ken and his crew got what they were looking for. The big takeaway from me was the passion, you know, the camaraderie. There was a lot of people pitching in. They all made this happen. A little fun, a little building, a lot of learning, and in the end, we get a really cool project. Another one of my longtime collaborators is Johnny Jalopy. Johnny is an envisioning marvel. He draws a lot of cartoons that work exactly the way my brain does, you know? When I see something, it's in cartoon proportions. That was my real interest in him. He lays it down on paper. I was itching to build another crazy show car, so I gave him a call and pitched him my idea.
Okay. Yikes.
It looks like this, but what it is isn't what it appears. Just like the Ed Roth cars, if you look at any of his cars, it's basically just a big fiberglass sculpture on tires.
Right.
Same thing here.
With a lot of cool stuff.
A lot of cool stuff. One of my heroes in car building is, of course, Ed Roth. His vehicles were made primarily out of fiberglass. Even though they were vehicles, they were all sculptures in their own right, and I used that as kind of the beacon, or rather the excuse for what I do.
Colors, graphics,
yes.
Stands,
yes.
Wheels.
Yes, I need that. The advantage to fiberglass in this situation is we'll be able to set up a mock-up really quick. If we don't like it, it's quick and easy to modify.
I'm ready to do this. Let's, I say, let me get my stuff out and throw down a couple drawings, and then we'll go from there.
Johnny's talent is really taking all of this, you know, potential that's in the ether, taking all the discussion and putting it on paper.
The hard part is, usually I do like a bunch of warm-up drawings, but immediately I'm like kind of like on the spot, like, hey, let's get this going. Like, you got to draw a car now. So that part's sometimes can be a little challenging, and I just think, okay, just let go and just try to come up with something kind of crazy. Too tame.
I gave Johnny some time to do his thing, you know. He doesn't need me looking over his shoulder, you know, like a manager.
One of the things that Ian made pretty clear about this particular build is we're gonna keep it fiberglass. It's a nod back to the godfather of customization, Ed Roth.
Focus.
What about a van thing?
That takes this, and it's like, it's still a utility, but it's a panel truck.
Right.
And I get my roof.
And your porthole.
And the porthole. Let's do it.
Okay.
Hey, the board meeting's over here.
Yeah,
This
over
side.
here.
Come on, check this out.
What do you think? Oh, maybe he's afraid you're gonna use his dog dish again.
Could be a doghouse.
Yeah, the doghouse. It's the doghouse. Yeah, look, there's a spot for you. Okay.
I think we got the green light on this project. Step one is always the parts search, you know, finding the right stuff to get the project started. So this is my friend Bill's back 40. I've got a lot of treasure from this location. We're not here for the Ranchero. We're here for this camper shell, which is kind of unique, you know? It's like a pickup truck shell, but it's for the smaller Ranchero, and it's in worse condition than I thought.
And I'm going, please tell me this isn't your thought of what we're gonna use.
But I mean, in proportion to the Dune buggy, it just might work.
I mean, I think this would definitely be pushing your talents, man.
You know what my friend Victor said? You take doo-doo and turn it into diamonds.
You got, well, there's a doo-doo start for you. But I agree with you. I've seen you do crazy stuff. I've seen you take worse.
Bill and I have the same views on recycling. I always need a lot of parts. He always needs to get rid of a lot of junk. we have a great relationship. You know, we're doing this Dune buggy project, sort of like this body line in that it's a sedan delivery, like the other Ranchero I did for you. So we're thinking this camper shell.
I have another one.
So you have two that you didn't throw out.
Oh, yeah, well,
nice.
We can make a deal.
Told you this guy was cool. The second camper shell Bill showed us was way cooler.
There it is, as I remember.
Wow. Oh, look at this. Totally cool.
Here's that
oh,
little...
man. It's got that's the roof, dude.
Ian gets excited. And I'm like, what? Why are you excited? I'm not seeing it.
That's the thing. This is exactly like your drawing, man. Look at the little flipper details.
Yeah, for sure.
All those embossments we were talking about having to make, like the foam on the fenders, they're already here. It's perfect.
Yeah.
This is another perfect piece of trash we're gonna make into a show car. It's gonna be awesome. Sold, sir.
Regardless of Ian's plan of whatever the project is, Bill's just super pumped. It's gonna get out of here.
Bill's got a lot of cars and he loves to talk about them to his guests. There's this one in particular that relates perfectly to our project. So this is a Falcon sedan delivery. Same vibe with the roof line as what we're doing with our project.
When I was absent, Ian cut this car right down in half, right down the middle.
We simply split the car in half lengthwise, widened it 8 inches, and put it on an entirely modern chassis. As you can see with that camper shell over there, it's the same vibe, you know? Basically, this style vehicle with the wild fiberglass fenders and everything else we got going on. I just can't wait to get back to the shop and show Johnny how this camper shell will transform into a panel wagon.
I don't know, man.
I mean, look at the roof from here. That's kind of your drawing, dude. So, I mean, it's wide, but we'll do it exactly like the Ranchero. Cut it right down the center.
It looks like it's gonna be a lot of work to cut that thing down though, right? I mean, that's a lot of pieces.
So it's simple math, right? So we come in here real fast, right? I see your visor here. We're gonna cut this off. That's gone. This bottom part's gone. This is canted forward. It's sliced through the middle. It's narrowed. Simple, right?
Yeah, that seems really easy to do.
I'm gonna whack this thing into shape and mock it up on the car. Check this out.
And then suddenly, like the lines of the front of where he cut it and the back end start making sense. This might work.
King of the road.
Yeah, I'm totally seeing it now.
With the mock-up laid out, he was convinced. All we had to do was get funky and make this thing happen. This cartoon show car was made of fiberglass, so once I got all that laid out, there was one big sore spot. With so many nice curves throughout the car, the dashboard was just plain flat, you know, very utilitarian. And that got me thinking. Very little sculpture, all business. We need to enhance. I know you thought we were done with that Sterling, but there was still one piece that I just couldn't let go.
The only thing I really want on this thing is this top.
From the jump, that dashboard was dynamite. My challenge is to make this funky 70s vibe fiberglass dashboard fit in that car. So look at that. Freaking floating space pods on this awesome wraparound dashboard. The basis of my projects has always been found parts. So this next step is just in that same vein. I think everyone will agree it's a nice looking unit, but how are you gonna get it in there? As a great man once said, it just isn't even close to fitting. So, I'm just gonna cut it up. Here we go. So you can see with a few minor pieces trimmed off, the Sterling dashboard is a perfect fit. Look at that. Once I got the dash in, Johnny came back, this time with a full color drawing. I mean, just first thoughts. I love this white panel coming to the little spear right here.
Right.
So what if the white followed through and it came around and then kind of hooked up? It doesn't need to follow this line, but it came up and you had two jutting spears like that.
Ian like immediately starts seeing a lot of lines that I wasn't really totally seeing, and he starts laying some pinstripe tape down, and immediately these really cool spear shapes started showing up. I just think that's his thought process. There's never not a way we can do this. Less is more.
And we're coloring outside the lines, which you get extra points for. I'm always looking to bring out the best in whoever I'm working with, you know? Creative opportunities are always right around the corner, you know? You just gotta get the flavor right and things start coming out.
What about doing white on the undersides of the kick-ups? You know, remember the old mud flaps?
Right.
Where it was like Yosemite Sam and the back off. We do that underneath, but not mud flaps.
Right, on the fenders.
On the fenders.
Yes. My friend Gilbert came by and did the font and silver leaf design, and this thing was ready to roll. It's exactly what it needed. Different than anything I've seen, it's perfect. This is a great example of my biggest passion is, you know, working with an artist, creating some kind of a fantasy show car, and having another completed project. I mean, what's not to like about that? I can't wait till the next one. A while back, I did another project with Johnny Jalopy. It was a revisioning of my show car called the Space Junkie. In the middle of it all, I called in a surprise visit from a good friend who is hot rod royalty.
What is that?
Yeah, let me show you. I got a little treat. I invited somebody over.
So we pop around the corner and there's this really tricked out, flaked, crazy car with a dude in a top hat, and I'm like, oh my God.
I introduced Johnny to Dennis, Ed Roth's son.
I'm Dennis. I'm Little Daddy Roth. What's up, Johnny?
Very nice to meet you. I'm like, oh my God, it's Ed Roth's son. And he's like, I got goodies for you guys.
I asked Dennis to come by because he's got a line of paint products designed specifically for this type of car.
And as soon as the light hits that Roth flake, it's amazing.
I actually built that car to showcase the metal flake because I got a real education when I was 10 years old. Dad was flaking them, and I jumped right on the bandwagon. I've been flaking for 50 years.
See, this is what I'm talking about, man. This is the exact effect we need. So it's like multi-layers of different tones of flake with the candy over it. Our car needs this effect. It's unbelievable.
When he called me and said he wanted metal flake, dude, I said, dude, I will deliver it. You know what I mean? I'm coming up there right now because I want to see your car.
Come on.
Whoa,
check
dude,
out what we're making.
Man, this is sick.
We pick up the boxes and go inside, and Dennis sees the car that we're working on, and he's just kind of blown away. You know?
No, dude, the front ladder bars are insane, dude.
This is the guy who's seen it all. He grew up in his dad's shop, seeing all the creations, and he's kind of digging this.
The whole lightweight look, these things on the side, these fins right here are just mind-blowing. Everything that Ian does has that flavor about it. You know, I know Big Daddy's looking down on Ian right now and going, oh yeah, Ian, you know what's up.
It was great to see Dennis react to the car. It really motivated us to get super crazy with the paint.
Holy mackerel. Wow.
Hey, welcome
Hey,
back.
Ian, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Wow. What'd you do this time?
Later, my friend Jack came in for the upholstery. You know, he's been doing a lot of work for me, but he's worked with all the greats, Barris, Winfield, so many others. And somehow I made my way onto his A-list. I pretty much got the whole deal figured out. The only thing left is the interior. You know, Jack was digging it, so I pitched him my idea. So the whole thing is with the interior being so mellow and subtle, I want the fabric to pop, you know? I was thinking like that metal flake, blue old school glitter vinyl to complement these pinstripes. So when you're looking through the bubble, you'll see these two blue things broadcasting out, you know?
This blue metal flake, they don't make it anymore, from what I understand, so it'll be pretty hard to get.
That's,
if we can find it. And blue metal flake vinyl?
Well,
he likes metal flake, you know. He tried to metal flake my truck.
I know it's impossible to find. It's the hardest stuff in the world to get a hold of. So
Well,
I
wait a
got
minute.
this instead.
He was playing with me, see? Well, that's what we're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Of course.
I could pull a few strings, man.
Oh, man.
So you
Look at
think
this guy.
2 yards of this stuff will be enough?
Sure.
Check it out. Check it out in the sun.
Plenty
That's the
good.
thing. It's just like the frame.
Put the God light on it.
Jack's not a big fan of metal flake, so I just wanted to catch him off guard a bit.
He pulled one on me.
Had to pull a few strings back in the men's room, but they handed it through the wall, through the back window.
Well, it is a bold choice, and it's a lot of people are afraid to take chances because they think they're going to ruin their reputation or something like that. It's his personality. That's what he does. He likes to zap you with things.
I agree with Jack's assessment of myself 100%. I'm an antagonist. I'm the nice guy. My cars are kind of edgy.
Working like Ian works is like you're doing it on the fly. You know what I mean? You plan it as you go. It's enjoyable.
Welcome to upholstery, full custom style.
That's right.
The proof is in the pudding. We got to put it in the car. So this one comes in.
You set the panel in, ran a couple screws in on both sides, and we looked at it, and it even looked better. I was really surprised because I didn't think it would look that good. Here we go.
This is a perfect example. This build would not have been possible without a bunch of help from my friends. I guess the big reflection on everything that's happened thus far is don't try this at home. It doesn't make any sense at all. Go to school, get a diploma, do something different. This is only for the crazies.